The world we live in is never short of crises and disasters that test the mettle of our leaders at every level.
The potential is there for the ultimate risk of a meltdown at the 3 Mile Island Atomic Power Plant outside Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. Radiation inside the plant is at 8 times the deadly level, so strong that after passing through a 3-foot thick concrete wall, it can be measured a mile away.
The 1979 accident at 3 Mile Island presented then-Governor Richard Thornburgh and his team with daunting challenges of management and communication under what could have been cataclysmic circumstances.
That 125 MR figure from the chairman of the NRC was a calculation.
Our prime concern is the safety of the people of central Pennsylvania. And in order to assess what we must do to protect their safety, we need accurate information.
The governor faced some very serious challenges. There was a huge amount of fear and anxiety in the air. Neither he nor anyone really had any experience in dealing with a nuclear incident or accident. The utility that owned and ran the plant kept telling us everything's okay, there's no radiation leaking.
We need to tell you each and everything that we do.
Nobody understood what a meltdown might entail. The news media was full of rumors and worst case scenarios, and there was a great deal of uncertainty about whether and when and how to order an evacuation. The president's role during the crisis was absolutely critical. He was a nuclear engineer, and he basically just said, you tell us what you need, we're here to support you, and he did every step of the way.
The president agreed with me that we needed a better capability to communicate and to fact find, and accordingly he has sent his own representative here to assist and keep us all fully informed.
Today, our fellow citizens, our way of life, our very freedom came under attack in a series of deliberate and deadly terrorist acts.
The visual of 2 planes crashing into the World Trade Center and then the buildings coming down. It was shocking, but it should not have been a surprise, is that we consistently underestimated their capability. Beginning in 1993, when they tried to bring the building down with bombs. And then came 1998, an attack on our embassies. Then came the cold, the fall of 2000. We just didn't respond the way we should have.
I can hear you, the rest of the world hears you, and the people who knock these buildings down will hear all of us soon.
I think the Bush administration did a very good job communicating. You have to be very careful not to communicate an excessive amount of fear. At the same time, you're communicating the resolve to reduce the threat. You can give people confidence that you're going to do it by staying calm. Even though you might be scared to death, you can betray none of that when you're communicating.
This storm is going to be moving up just like this into the south central part of the Mississippi Gulf Coast.
Over the past 40-plus years, Americans have faced a number of disasters, both natural and man-made, challenging our leaders at all levels to allay our fears, keep us informed, resolve the issue at hand, and offer a way forward.
You had to see it in person to capture the scale of the destruction, the type of the destruction.
When you're dealing with the mega disaster, you don't know what's going to come next. It's critically important that you have been preparing. We had a terrible hurricane in 1969, Camille. Every year after Camille, until Katrina. We practiced, we prepared, we worked together with the federal government, the state government, the local governments. Every year, practice, prepare, plan. And Katrina was nothing like Hurricane Camille. Much bigger, gigantic storm surge. You've practiced, you've learned, and sometimes you're going to be wrong. And when that happens, then you need to step up to the plate and fix it. But you cannot be so proud or afraid to say, look, we made a bad decision here. Here's how we're going to correct it. But we're going to correct it. If you want to say who's responsible, I'm responsible.
We weren't prepared for this pandemic. We prepared for a different pandemic. We didn't have the data we needed. We didn't have the tests we needed. The entire pandemic preparedness was based on syndromic disease. And so they thought they could see it through symptoms. When you're looking for disease only through symptoms, you miss everybody who's asymptomatic or with mild disease. And by the time seriously ill and people had symptoms, it was so widespread in the community, it was difficult to stop. Today, we know precisely how this virus acts. We know how it circulates in this country, so we can see it coming. We know what to do. But what we're not still doing is communicating to the public so that they understand.
As Secretary of Transportation, I had responsibility for a number of areas in transportation. The first one was the Eastern Airlines strike. It was a crisis because a major airline was not going to make it. The second one was Exxon Valdez.
Exxon Valdez, gouged by a reef. More than 8.5 million gallons poured into Prince
And I found that in helping solve a crisis, people will follow if you lead. And to lead means you got to take some risk because it's not all going to work out exactly the way you want. And sometimes you may take the brunt of it. People are getting their news in very different ways. And unfortunately, what it means is people tell their story in different ways and it gets out. The media runs with it and it's not always accurate. You got to be on top of it. If you want the story you think should be out, you need to do it yourself. You can't delegate that to someone else. You can't be afraid to tell the American people and answer questions.
Some efforts were more successful than others, begging the question, are there interpersonal traits that come to bear? And if so, where do they come from? Are there specific elements to crisis management that can be quantified and applied across the board? If there are, they should clearly be part of any serious leadership training. The need is painfully obvious, because you can be assured that no matter what the level of responsibility a leader bears, another crisis will always be looming, just beyond the horizon.